Day 3. Stats. Bunny. Party. Dark. GSL Season 1. Code A. Africa TV Freak Up Studio Live. LG Ultra Gear and Hot 6 2021 GSL Season 1.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Day 3 of the GSL Code A. We've got two best of fives tonight, the drawing for the group selection, and then we're going to be going into GSL Code S.
That's right. Although we won't be in Code S tonight. We're just getting there. We're getting ourselves ready.
This is where we
the
say
groups.
goodbye to Code A. I'm glad we have this part of the tournament back, though. I think it mixes things up a little bit compared to a lot of the redundancy we had in round of 24 to round of 16, just group after group after group. And I think the best of fives we've got tonight are definitely something to be hype about.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, we have actually probably the most ludicrous round Code A match ever as far as elimination goes. You know, we used to have Code A very long time ago, and we did have some very strong players fall out. But honestly, at this point, with the player pool we have, like the size of it, versus the accomplishments of Parting and Dark, this is the stupidest Code A match we could ever get.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
It'd be like
Code
Mario
A
playing TUI. I'd be like, wasn't that the finals like twice or something? Like, what are we
now
doing?
It's not even Code S level.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't follow GSL from the very beginning, can't blame you. This tournament's over a decade old now, but Code A was one of the tournaments we had when this overall format was much larger, and that was the filter tournament to get into Code S. We televised that and then basically decided why not have just more Code S's, but now we've changed it up a little bit, and I do. Again, I like the way that this is set up here to have another phase of the tournament that's a little bit different than the round of 16. And so I think today's games are going to be very exciting. But to your point, Artosis, people are so damn good now. The competition is so fierce that it is a little bit weird to see two players like we have today here duking it out.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Here's who we have so far. Just a perfect balance, as you can see. It's a pretty round of 16 that we're going up to so far. Some very exciting players mixed in there as well. Like, you know, Hurricane, Dream, Zaun. Like, all these guys, kind of very exciting to see. You know, really making waves nowadays.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be going into Stats versus Bunny and then Parting versus Dark. I think Parting versus Dark, definitely something to be excited about. Extremely difficult to call. It's even hard to know who to really root for there. Those guys are such big fan favorites. Stats versus Bunny. I think it's fair to say we expect Stats to beat Bunny. Bunny is capable of winning this, but it's going to be tough. Stats appears right now to be in one of his phases where he is very resilient. He is able to make his style work.
For sure. And honestly, Bunny has been getting better and better. I felt like there was a few-year period in there, aka most of his career, where he was stuck at basically around a 32 level of GSL.
Yeah.
But more recently, he's been putting out some really good games. Like, we have seen Bunny truly improve, I think, in the last year or so, which makes me excited. But yeah, you're definitely right that you look at stats and it's like, okay, look at his year last year. Round of 16, second place, fourth place. It's like, oh, okay, well, still, like, basically top 3 Protoss in the world at all times.
Yeah, when he's in his form, he's pretty untouchable. He's very good at making everything that people try to do to Protoss not possible.
Yeah.
Now, he has had periods, and especially I think this is because of his style, he's had periods in his play where he's basically not been able to handle all the possible things that come at him and he falls apart. But I don't think we're in a phase like that in StarCraft, in Protoss macro understanding right now that that'll be as much of an issue.
No, I think they're doing very well today.
Bunny, this guy is a great Terran, overshadowed by, I would say, the 4 horsemen, but he's right behind them.
Yeah. No, I would pretty much agree with that. Like, he's pretty highly ranked. Like, for a long time, I was like, yeah, he's the 9th best Terran.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you know what?
He might be
I'll put him top 7.
Okay.
Definitely top 7. And, I mean, just depending on how he plays on a given day, maybe a little bit higher. But yeah, he is definitely overshadowed. It's just Korea is so deep with Terran talent.
Yeah. Korea has always had a rich history of amazing Terran players since the very first version of StarCraft ever came out. I mean, there's been a lot of powerhouses, and I think it's been a big influence in who's selected what race out here in Korea with the younger generations, you know?
Oh, for sure. Boxer echoes through eternity.
Boxer.
Truly, he was the first, like, really
Blue,
best player.
Nada, yeah.
Well, the thing is, a lot of those people were inspired by Boxer.
Exactly.
So honestly, like, yeah, we all have Boxer to blame for our dying wrists and sad losses against Protoss.
I've just been informed that Bunny's actually spilled his drink, so we're going to get that cleaned up.
Oh, he spilled his coffee, yeah.
Yeah, so...
that's funny.
We're going to give him another minute or two here. I think we actually have some staff coming out with some paper towels or napkins. Let's see what they clean it up with. This is our first time with a drink spill here.
There's this really interesting fact about my life tasteless in my house. So, like, if I'm drinking coffee in the living room, no matter where I put the coffee, tasteless, no matter where, one of my children will knock it over. It literally, I could put it somewhere they can't reach and somehow it would get knocked over. I can tell them 40 times, I can be like, I can hold their hand and be like, you see this coffee right next to Dada?
Yeah.
Do not pick it. Do not spill it. Within 5 minutes, tasteless. It is spilt.
It's everywhere,
Every time. It is.
You gotta get one of those like sippy cup tops on it or something like that.
There's just.
Then you become like one of your kids.
Yeah. It's kind of like child magic. Like, for instance, if there's like a pair of scissors somewhere on the floor of my house and I can't find them, just let my 1-year-old loose. She will come with them within like 20 seconds.
And running with them.
It's just open them back and forth, staring. I'm like, what's this? It's like, oh my God. It's one of those things, you know?
Have you ever destroyed a keyboard by knocking something onto it? That's happened to me more times than I want to admit.
I broke 2 Leopold 10-keyless $120 keyboards like that.
I actually once accidentally destroyed a friend's laptop by knocking a drink over in it. It was so awkward. I was staying at his house.
When was this? Whose laptop was this?
It was our friend Matt. This was like 11 years ago, yeah.
He deserves it.
Yeah. I'm like, I didn't feel bad. No, I knocked the drink over, and I immediately pulled it away. I said, it's fine. And he picked it up and held it upside down, and liquid just poured out. And it was like, oh, man.
Yeah. I actually,
oh, man.
Nothing without a lid goes near my computer anymore at all. I'm sick of it.
What's funny, though, is I find I don't spill drinks in general very often, but if it's by a keyboard, it's going to go inside.
Yeah,
it's not just going to go on the desk. It's going to spill and pour into where the keys are.
Thing is, around a computer, your arms do things quickly without thought, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, it makes sense, right? You got to hit a button or go over here.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, you got to be careful at that.
Okay, we've cleaned up the mess. The game is loading. Map 1 Romanticide. This is Stats versus Bunny.
2021 GSL Season 1.
We stood at the edge of the world, seized the stakes.
Africa Freaks. Stats. Team NV, Bunny.
I actually just got reminded from our producer that when we were casting Valorant a couple weeks ago, I had a giant ice Americano that I spilt everywhere on the desk.
I don't think I was there for this day.
No, you were getting your makeup done.
Oh, okay.
And I spilt it at the desk we weren't casting at that day.
Oh, that's good. Because the desk we cast at for Valorant is shaped in such a way that if we spill anything, it will all go inside where the electronics are.
Yes.
It's almost like they made a giant pit with all the stuff there and then a cone into it, which all the drinks can pour into. Immediately out of the gates here, Bunny, triple barracks, 1 at the entrance, 2 proxied. Well, I shouldn't say proxied, 2 outside of his main. And so the thrust of this strategy is to try to get an early attack here, but normally the 2 barracks would be much closer. So he's going more for an element of surprise here than he is for momentum.
Well, this is an all-in, right? Like, he's not getting gas. This isn't Reapers or something. This is going to be a Marine with SCV pull. So Bunny is starting this out with something extremely cheesy. And yeah, I guess we wait and we see if this works, if Stats just straight dies to this.
And I think this is a good idea to try, especially in a best of 5. You know, there is the ebb and flow of information as the game goes on, but really you look at a build like this, you can't glean that much. What? Oh, very smart.
This is super cool. Yeah, so the 2 SCVs that build that get rid of that rally location, and the mule just takes out.
Oh, this is so cute.
Yeah. Oh, this is
This
cool.
is great.
You know, I hope this just straight kills Stats so that we have a build order from Zerg and a build order from Terran.
Yeah.
That you just drill your workers in and kill them with base units.
Take the game. Whoa, look at that.
Oh, that's a big catch, isn't it?
What? And like Stats is actually
Stats
laughing.
just smiled so big.
Yeah, that's a smile of embarrassment. And now it's going to be one
dead.
Adept coming out, and this is just an overwhelming amount of units coming forward. The probes are going to be pulled at a pretty decent angle, I should say, as well. The Adept getting lower, the Adept surrounded, the Adept taken out, and that should cue GG. Bunny takes game 1 in a match that was under 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
Literally one of the fastest games you could ever have. Bunny, now you see he's smiling. That's not a smile of embarrassment. That's trying to hold back how awesome you feel knowing you're just now 2 wins away from taking out the best macro defensive Protoss ever.
That's hilarious, isn't it? Like, I mean, Stats didn't even get to play a game there.
No.
His Adept got caught.
It's like, what can I do better?
Honestly, as soon as the Adept gets caught, your chances of holding that are 0.
Yeah,
it's
well,
not
that's
like there's
funny.
some great micro you can do. You're making a second Adept, which, by the way, can't really kite against that. A Stalker has much more play, but you don't make Stalkers early on there sometimes.
Listen, I want to help him out. Dan, you go down there and tell him he shouldn't lose that first Adept. He needs that to hold the rush. He's probably wondering what he did wrong back there, and I think someone needs to let him know.
I can let him know. Like, you know,
See, if you said that he would punch us right now. That's like the last thing you want to say. Game 2 has loaded up. Oxide is our map. Let's go.
2021 GSL Season 1.
We stood at the edge of the world. Seize the stakes. Living a life
Africa Freaks. Stats.
I mean, it's not necessarily because of that first game, but he does make us pile onto the high ground, you know? It's just, I love seeing that because you don't really know. He might just be like,
Bunny.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to lose any games that quickly.
If your stuff is on top of the ramp, it's like so much different to hold.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, you just lose it instantly. It's like your probes can't come down and fight. You saw what happened.
It's funny because you build the wall in at the lower ramp because it helps in defense, except when something like that happens, then it's a liability.
Yeah.
So let's see what Bunny's going to do this time around.
Double gas tasteless, so he's doing something.
He's doing, it's definitely a fast tech build. We're not going to have that double racks in the middle of the map with the attack coming in, but some of the same ideas are at play here. This strategy is intended to activate much more quickly than, if we had a command center on the low ground and maybe even a third in the main. I do want to point out, the rush we saw in the last game works specifically because it's actually not supposed to work on that map because the minerals block out a beeline of reinforcements. But when you take 2 SCVs and mine out the mineral patches adjacent to the barracks and then use the mule to suck up the last mineral patch, you've suddenly made a rush distance that is extremely short and very punishing. And I think, when you see stuff like that enter the bloodstream of the StarCraft meta, you got to wonder how much more conservative our Protoss is going to be even against something like that. Because, guys, that wasn't hard to do. I mean, the idea was brilliant.
Yeah, with the mining out the minerals and stuff.
Yeah, that was actually ingenious. But you look at that and you go, okay.
oh, no, go ahead.
No, please.
Well.
No.
I actually just kind of thought of something that if Stats was like 1,000,000,000% on, like if he had drank all the coffee that Bunny spilt on his desk, then he might have actually been able to figure out what was going on because his Adept, the place it got stuck means that he was either shading or whatever, right? Like you give your unit a command to go across the map, and you could theoretically catch the fact that it's going on a path, meaning the mineral has been mined out. And if that mineral is mined out right then, it tells you that you're being all in some very weird way. But I mean, that's a bit much to ask. But I'm just saying that's something to mention because normally that would path otherwise.
Right.
So as soon as weird pathing occurs on StarCraft 2, you got to wonder about it.
Yeah, it's one of the features of the game is because the pathing is so precise. Anything that's a deviation of that, you go, where did you click?
Yeah, we used
What
to.
are you doing?
I remember there was some funny tricks way back in Wings of Liberty. Remember there was some maps with there was like rocks that went up into your main from a different direction, stuff like that.
Right.
I remember there used to be a couple things. I can't remember specifically what they were, but I think they had to do with that, where you would just click a unit into towards a certain point on the map, and if it moved in a certain direction, you knew what was killed and what wasn't. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, okay, well, they
I
killed
do know what you
these
mean.
rocks or whatever, so now I know something's happening over there. But
Yeah. It's these subtle moves that telegraph a bigger idea. So we actually have a medevac coming out here, and it's going to be a Widowmine drop, but we also have a Warp Prism coming in what looks like it's going to be a DT, and if that doesn't work, into an Archon drop.
Yeah. And I'd like to see that out of sets. It's kind of, you can definitely get into macro games from that, but it's one of those builds that occasionally you just win with.
Okay, so it's going to be one of those moments where they're both dropping each other at the same time. I believe they're just out of vision of each other as well.
Yeah.
Sight paths touching, but not far enough to see each other. And so the medevac is going to barrel into the main now.
Yeah, let's see what he gets done. Oh,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
that's, okay, it didn't go as bad as it could have.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be worse. I was a little bit worried. It seemed like he was reacting slowly. The DT is going to come into the main. Stats really multitasking pretty well. 4 probes killed total. A good surround here on the Reaper and the Hellions. The question now is there actually going to be enough scans?
No, there's not. But there is a Raven on the way, so things can still be cleaned up. But definitely Stats did more damage.
I worry here because, you know, DT is, if you start to warp in enough other stuff with them, they can start to actually just take fights as well. Got to be careful, though. You don't want to lose this Warp Prism. The Warp Prism's chased out.
Woo! That's scary, man. Look at that. Barely gets out of there. Has to keep going, too.
Becoming a woo girl in this cast, you know?
Dude, I'm casting this one standing up
Artosis.
out of a limo.
They're doing tequila shots on spring break. Woo! There you go.
We're in Vegas,
We're
Vegas!
Oh my God! Does some nice harass there. You know, you see the Archon drop historically against Zergs, but you can do this against Terran. You just got to be careful not to actually lose the War Prism.
We've seen it actually a little bit more. Definitely Stats has done more damage here than Bunny, as you can see. And still can't continue. You got to be careful though not to lose that Prism with the Archons. And it's a little bit scary, right? With the Cyclone out and the fact that he has a Raven.
Yeah, Marines are
It's
actually...
like there's disables, there's turrets, there's all sorts of crazies that can occur.
You gotta be careful. He wants to target that. I thought he was gonna get the Raven actually. He shot under it. But again, an overextension.
It's such a bluffing man's game.
Yeah, it's crazy. But again, you know, he does the damage. Marines are, especially if they don't have stim, are not that good against Archons. The Archons can kind of just come up and fight him. Again, you just want to keep that Warp Prism alive. I think he's probably done harassing with that Warp Prism, since it is pretty low on hit points. We've got Blink coming for Protoss, and the third Nexus, the teching up has begun. On the Terran side of things, Stim is still a ways out. It's going to be a little bit here before I think Terran can be that active.
Yeah, he's coming back in with that Prism now. There's a Siege tank here, but I mean, you can eat a couple Siege tank hits for sure. Really, it's reasonable though. Like the amount of damage he's doing, it's still pretty good. We're warping in a few Stalkers here against that Light Marine drop. Leaves a few back.
Okay, the blink up over here.
The 3 Stalker blink up.
Yeah, this is a funny attack. I really didn't expect it, especially from Stats, but I guess you can do it and you're not really going to go punished. In fact, with no medevacs here to heal, you got to be careful not to overextend with any of this infantry. So he does that, he gets out, picks off the Observer. But Stats, look at how ready he is back at home.
Dude, he must be furious about that first game.
Yeah, well, he's
Because
definitely...
he is playing like, he's playing really well here. Like, he's multitasking all over the place. He's finding every little ounce of damage that exists.
Well, Bunny got the best of him, right? He got the cheese off. It won. He's basically stolen that win, but that's kind of how you end up winning in a StarCraft tournament. Is you got to have a cheesy strat here or there. You got to be unexpected. You got to know when to rush. You can't be too predictable. But now Bunny's going to push out.
Oh,
now this is
he can't do anything, can he?
I don't think this army, even though the army doesn't look bad, I think it can't probably kill Stats. I think Stats has enough map and enough force fields to basically draw this out for an extremely long period of time.
It's so hard to imagine Bunny getting anything done with that army. Like, yeah, between the force fields and Blink, and he's got that Prism still with Archons in, he's got Charge coming. It's just, you can't imagine. I'm gonna sit here and defend.
Yeah, and really, I think for Bunny's sake, this has to work, or he's not going to have a lot of real options later on here. I mean, Bunny is taking a third base, but you can see the area that he wanted to attack into, it's too narrow. The Protoss can abuse him pretty badly there. He hasn't torn down the rocks yet. He may just try to slide in here. It looks like Stats' screen wasn't in the right spot at the right time, but force fields come down regardless.
Oh, that might be the worst force fields I've ever seen.
I thought he wanted to force field that to cut the army in half and force the Zealots to actually do damage, but again, I don't know if it's really going to be an issue of formation, right?
I mean,
it seems to be an issue of numbers instead.
If he didn't want to hit the Marines and Marauders with his Zealots, they already didn't have charge yet, so he didn't really need the force fields there to block them, but he threw them down anyways.
Yeah. Okay, another attack's coming forward now.
Ooh. All right, Psystorm's coming out of that Prism, and I mean, he is...
Ooh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
He's
he is
getting dumpstered, man.
massacring. It's a tough game, man. The opening was so stats-based.
Oh, yeah, well, Stats really seized control of this game. A little bit more aggro than even what we see a lot of times from him. This time just coming in there, getting in his face.
Yeah.
And, I mean, from here, I would anticipate we're going to see an attack out onto the third base of the Terran and probably a GG. Bunny does have a drop inbound. There's 2 medevacs headed out on the map, but I just don't imagine that's going to allow him to catch up. Not just that, but also the simple fact that truth be told, that's going to be army that's not here to defend. So he has a meager assault down here in the main, but literally nothing to defend but 2 Marauders over here at his third base, and he can actually just stampede up into the second base and probably end the game now.
Yeah, he is just blinking forward here, targeting him in that bunker. They try to repair, but so few units left. Bunny's just going to GG.
Yep, that's
pretty
it.
one-sided game there.
2 very different games, but Stats right now definitely looking like the better player so far. I mean, Bunny had a cool strat. Yeah. He did pull the rug out from under Stats, but you know, now in Code A, now that Code A is back, it's a best of 5. So it's very hard to be a sneaky snake and use that alone to get ahead.
Wiggling 3 games off your opponent is a lot harder than wiggling 1.
Yeah, and so it's even now. Basically, this becomes a best of 3 since it was a best of 5 before. We're tied up 1-1. Whoever wins 2 games moves on, but Stats definitely, when it comes to more of a game of what we think StarCraft is, he looks better. It's why he was the favorite going into this. He was in great control on that. He's looking relaxed. He's stretching his wrists. He's nodding his head.
Did you see that?
Yeah. The dimples are showing.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's like, oh, look what happens. Oh, but, you know, it was a DT drop, so, like, we can't give him too much love, you know?
We're going to go to Deathaura for map number 3. Stats versus Bunny continues on.
2021 GSL Season 1.
We stood at the edge of the world, seized the stakes. They're living a life I didn't.
Africa Freaks. Stats. Team NV. Bunny.
Bunny.
Right. We'll see if there's going to be anything cheesy. Stats really scouting for that right now.
Yeah, I wonder about using a strat like that for the first game, because you're definitely sending a strong message about maybe your confidence levels in the other games coming into that, but
Well,
I don't know.
I think
Because it doesn't really matter now that I think about it.
because it was that map, I think.
Yeah, you could only do it on that map. That's why it's good.
Yeah. And so, also, like, look at stats. Look how heavily he's scouting. Look at, like, he is scouted so much here. And if that was your one cheese and you're forcing him to scout like this for the rest of the series, that cheese was so valuable in so many ways.
Oh, yeah. You're getting value out of it that way for sure.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, guys, this time Stats did make his pylon on the low ground. He is expanding. And it looks like Bunny's going to be playing more of a middle-of-the-road build as well here, getting a command center of his own on the low ground.
You know, I'm thinking more and more about it, actually, with the amount of, like, scouting and how safe he's kind of forced Stats into in a certain way in the early game. It's like, if you could, if someone said, okay, you're playing a best of 5, first map we're going to give you 50% to win, and also it's going to cost your opponent, let's call it 20 minerals every game after.
Yeah.
You'd have to be an idiot to say no, or much better than your opponent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, I agree. You're right. You're forcing them to at least accept that this is going to be a factor, and there's going to be some small sacrifices that have to be made if you're going to be ready for it. And this time around, by the way, it's going to be Stargate tech here.
Yeah.
So a very different way to play. We've really only seen Stats play one actual PvT since he was blindsided in game 1. So
Yeah.
but already showing a range in his second game that's going to lead into a macro game, at least for now.
He's quite liked Phoenixes lately in PvT. We'll see if that's going to be the case. Is he going to go for those Phoenixes here? We're going to see momentarily. That one Adept being chased around pretty well. Good defense here from Bunny. And yeah, it's going to be Phoenixes from Stats. But that's he likes that quite a bit. We'll see what Bunny has as a strat, though. I think, you know, Phoenix Opens, I think they are good in the matchup, but you got to be careful with them too, because you know the Phoenixes can have a very hard time if Terran like nails their move outs and whatnot. Looks like he wants to do a mine drop, perhaps. Of course, if the Phoenixes catch that, you're going to be in a bit of trouble.
So this is another poke in here with the Adepts. Just gonna look at what's going on here. The Terran hasn't really been able to scout yet, and it's one of the reasons why the Phoenixes haven't been shown yet. He wants to try to bank up some of those, and when he has the right number, he'll eventually bring those out here. But Phoenix into Robo, it's a tech we've seen before in StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he's going to go into Colossus play and third base. You know, it's a pretty standard build. It's pretty popular right now.
And with the medevac inbound here, and he doesn't know, in fact, that it's going to be Phoenixes. The Phoenixes can be very handy in trying to deal with this. And
the
the drop,
Phoenixes really can crush it.
oh yeah, well I mean I think they just straight up counter it, and of course they're fast enough they can then hunt down the medevac. But it's one of the things about a drop in general is it does act as a double-edged sword here. So he can come in here and unload this now, but let's see, he actually does get the pickups. I don't think a single Widow Mine is going to connect with its target. And you can see the last one that drops can't burrow in time. The Phoenixes hunt down the medevac, and this is just a lead now for Stats.
Yeah.
That was not a drop that traded in any sense. It might as well have just been shot down before the Widow Mine's even unloaded. So huge win right now for Stats in the early game, and he's going to take this and just use this to mount more pressure and further his lead.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome for Stats. Now, he is taking that third and everything. He's going to start his Colossus production. What is Bunny's plan from here? Because it doesn't seem like he's going to hit any sort of timing, right? Like, he just made a Raven, and Ravens can be very good against Colossus openers. But if you look at, like, the timing of everything, it doesn't feel like he's going to have any window. Like, Stats is going to easily get into the late game.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is one of the most impactful things that could happen at this phase of a game is to have a drop like that completely shut down, especially against a player who's as systematic as Stats is. Now, a Terran is building up. There is going to be a push here. All signs point to that. There's a lot of barracks. The reactor's just been added onto the starport so that more medevacs can be made. But time is on Stats' side. He's going to be getting Colossus. He can come in here quite freely with the Phoenixes and kill off SCVs and slow down progression here for the Terran. And he could even try to get these Widow Mines. Oh, he doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he sees the command center timing and everything.
Even going in there for the Raven. That was insane.
My God.
And keep in mind, the Raven with this push is used to disable the Colossus. So, like, he is just, with surgical precision, taking apart Bunny and also eliminating his options. Now, the attack hasn't come yet, and until we see how this attack goes, we can't know for sure, but all signs point to Stats eking further and further ahead. Look at this, even the Phoenix is here to pick up the resources. Everything that Stats is doing makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's a very well thought out game plan. He's executing it quite well as well.
You can be watching this as a Protoss player with headphones on, and people be like, what music are you listening to? You'd be like, no, I'm just nodding my head at everything that Stats is doing right now. I agree with all of it.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Well, he is the defensive leader of Protoss, has been since Rain retired.
And so now we have, in fact, a pretty lackluster attack coming in from Bunny. Let's see if he can't get a good angle. But I think Stats is going to be ready. An explosion of gateways is inbound as upgrades are piling on. And really, the only thing that Stats has to do to close out the advantage that he started is to defeat this attack without losing too much.
Okay, well, he just has enough. You know, you can't attack in there. It's such a marine-heavy force. He's got force field, so you can't even like stim in and spread or anything because he can screw that up for you.
It may be tempting to do a drop here. I do want to point out there are Phoenixes on the 3 o'clock spot on the mini-map here. If that is the decision he decides to make here.
He's trying to draw him into some mines here, and actually, no, well, that splits too well, so that doesn't work either, unfortunately.
Yeah, and
just gotta make a nexus as they're running.
Yeah, and he may be waiting for the 1-1 to finish here, and then I think it's possible we even see Stats with a counter punch across the map.
Yeah, he's going to be able to whenever it feels right to him.
Yeah, we got Archons coming here. Again, you want to wait for the charge upgrade to finish and that 1-1 like I mentioned a second ago. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Honestly, like almost like a textbook example of how a good macro player plays. He basically just waited for a drop to come. Notice that the drop came in game 2 and was dealt with, but this game he preempted it with the build he chose.
Gonna get in, and this is normally where Stats likes to attack as well, by the way, is when he gets those Archons out. So he wants to make a couple more, but of course got to defend this attack while it's over here. And his attack's gonna be very strong.
Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult for the Terran to run around this, especially with the growth rate that Protoss has. That 4th Nexus is about to finish and all those gateways done too. And he can basically chase this up to where the Terran quadrant is in the upper left. He could set up for an attack. I mean, Terran has to decide, do I want to try to defend this command center or do I cancel? And I worry that for the Terran's sake that he could just actually get run over. And we're going to see that here. He forces a cancel. Terran down to 3 bases, but there's a chance Protoss even pushes it further from here.
Yeah, I think he will. His army is really, really strong right now. Gets in on top of it with those charge locks.
Oh
the
my God.
Burrow. Let's see what hits they get. I don't think it's quite good enough right there.
Oh my God.
A lot of damage being dealt. Another warping round of Zealots as well. The SCVs came out to fight, but they also died. And this is just about done.
And the Warp Prism actually was not killed, I believe. Yeah, it's just at the top right of our screen here. Moment of hold position here. The CC's been lifted. Stats has won game 3, making the score 2-1. And I'll tell you, man, if the game gets to go on for more than 3 minutes, it does seem like Stats is better in every imaginable way.
Yeah, well, this game as well, Bunny kind of flew into him, unfortunately, but he didn't really have a great follow-up to that, I guess, right? Like, against these Phoenix plays, you kind of have to hit a critical mass and try to get them before they get everything out that they want, because they are going to be a little bit weak in the mid-game.
Also, a lot of, Protoss players complain about Widowmine drops and how devastating they are. You can do a build like this, and it's just like, you're fine.
You really stomp a Widowmine drop or something like that. Although,
you can worry about other stuff. But
yeah, there's big timings and stuff that Terran can do against that if they aren't going to drop you, which is really, really strong, too.
Jagannatha is our map. Jagannatha. For game 4, guys, good luck, Bunny. Right now, Stats with a 2-1 lead. And action.
2021 GSL Season 1.
We stood at the edge of the world. Seize the stakes. They're living a life I
Africa Freaks. Stats. Team NV. Bunny.
So I'm really curious to see if Bunny's going to do a cheese now, because I think confidence levels are almost to zero after those two games.
But, I mean, it's a best of 5 that he's had a long time to prep for, so he might just have a build he has prepped for the map and not want to change it too.
That's possible,
But
I'm just saying I wouldn't blame the guy if he...
If you throw your plans away and just go for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. I mean, Stats is... It looks like Stats is playing very well today. Game 1 doesn't mean anything, but games 2 and 3... Like, 2, yeah, the DT drop got in. Game 3, like... Yeah, he looked perfect the whole time.
You know, one of the reasons why we have the players in important tournaments not just play a best of 1 is so that something like that doesn't happen. But if you made these guys play like a best of 11 even, I think it's possible Stats would still only have lost that first game. Just judging, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or a best of 100, it's possible. Just the way that Stats is looking, like, you really start to see the disparity grow the more maps they have to play against each other.
We'll see what Bunny can do here. He's building his command center on high ground.
Yeah.
So it's at least gonna hide what he's doing here. Maybe he gets Stats to play a bit more defensive.
I do think that, and this doesn't always happen in games that go on for a while, but that one definitely, the build order from Stats countered everything that was planned for Bunny.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was like, now that of course can be absolutely not just a lucky thing, but, you know, a planning thing here from Stats as well. It's just, no, it seems like he likes to do this. Let me negate that by playing like this.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, if your opponent is opening Phoenix into Colossus, either you got to hit them really hard with everything you've got before they hit a critical mass, or you got to be king of that, like, supreme late game in TVP.
We should also point out that the Phoenix has sniped the Raven, which
yeah, it was an important moment.
It might not look like a big deal because you might be thinking, oh, well, he doesn't have DTs. What's the big deal? An auto turret. No, you can disable the Colossus. You can come in there and shut that down. And the funny thing is a lot of Protosses have preempted that by fighting in the middle, and then as they're disabled, they just run away with everything.
Yeah, that's how you're supposed to, yeah.
But the fact that he even killed the Raven and knocked that out of being a possibility, just, you know, let him have that much more muscle later on.
Well, there would have definitely been the little mini game if he hadn't lost the Raven there, of flying the Phoenixes around the army, trying to get the Raven the whole time. Because, yeah, I mean, he would have had the disables, and then suddenly the army of Stats is garbage without the 2 Colossus. Yeah, that's part of the problem, right? He found the damage with those Phoenixes. Looks like it's going to be Blink this time. Cyclone on the way, as well as Stim.
So this game is going to go on now. Terran is getting the Stim here, and it looks like he's setting up for some type of push here. This might be to try to hit the Protoss as the third base is taken. Another type of timing attack here. We know this is probably going to come because of the rate at which Stim is coming, and there's going to be tanks here as well. Keep in mind that in a lot of these phases of the game, the Terran was leaning into Widow Mines and Medevacs, so we have a different type of setup now. Now, Protoss hasn't taken a third yet. Does have a War Prism. And now the third Nexus has started. Okay, just waiting to make sure.
Yeah, well, he's kind of got his tools, maybe come across the map and try to do a little bit of a pin. I mean, if you have that Prism, you want to do something with it, right?
So this observer sees what's happening. The tank is there, sees the
that's well
the
placed.
Cyclone. Yeah, it's actually extremely well placed. Now, right now, the Terran's set up in case Stalkers were to blink in or ferry in with the Warp Prism, but that's not coming. Unless, no, I'm sorry, that is coming.
Well, it's coming, but it's not like, this is not a big one. This is Stats, like, doing the motions, but he's not going to find damage. And
No, this shouldn't work. I mean, if you really wanted to make sure it wouldn't work, you can make a bunker somewhere in your main. But, oh, it's actually going to work because he's leaving his base at the exact moment this comes in. That's so funny.
Yeah, he'll kill a few extra Marines. Unfortunately, the tank was just on siege.
Yeah.
And, oh, that was a good catch right there. All right. There you go.
Whoa,
Ooh,
that
grenade
was
sick.
crazy, man.
Get the lock on there. Oh, just barely not.
So that was 4 stalkers killed. That was half the army that was over there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how you do it.
This is perfect.
The Bun might win this one.
Oh, he's gonna win it.
The Bunarino.
Mr. Foo himself.
That's right.
All right, a bunch of shield batteries going down. Look,
Lucky.
shield batteries are good, but not that good. He is not gonna hold on here.
Lucky rabbit's foot. He means all 4 of my feet? It's like, I guess so. He says, I think he means skilled rabbit's foot is what you mean, not lucky. GG, Bunny takes it.
Oh my God.
Stats kind of shooting himself in the foot there. It was a clumsy attack. It just wasn't very good.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it wasn't even really an attack. He was just jumping up to do a little bit of pressure, but Bunny was massing the entire time. Insta-punished the blink away, and then super insta-punished losing all the units by pulling his SCVs and going. And with that, it's 2-2, and anyone could advance.
This is kind of crazy.
It is a little bit crazy.
Because
when you look at the game stats lost versus the game stats won,
it's pretty different.
He lost pamphlets and he won novels.
Yeah, but the truth be told, man, you do need to be careful with your stuff at the start of a game. I mean,
Tasteless.
I mean, it's like it's not as fancy of a way for Bunny to win. That certainly wasn't Bunny's plan. Bunny didn't say, I just hope he messes up his Stalker micro in my main. But Stats screwed that up. And he paid the price, and now it's all going to come down to Lightshade for our final map in this best of 5.
2021 GSL Season 1.
We stood at the edge of the world, seized the stakes. They're living a life like dead bodies.
Africa Freaks. Stats.
Doesn't look as happy this time.
This is, yeah.
Team NV. Bunny.
Right now, Stats sitting here feeling like, I guess not all games are made equally. It's like, no. But the wins are the ones that are the most important.
That is true.
So what Stats was doing, and I'm sure those of you guys have watched a lot of StarCraft, we've seen Protosses do this before. And usually, you know, it either does some damage to the Terran or a lot, or it's held. But in that case, the angle the Terran came out, he actually trapped the retreating army. And, you know, Stalkers are good if you don't lose any of them, but when you lose half of them, you can just pull your SCVs and run them over. So I do question the decision to attack in there. Maybe he could have controlled that better, but...
Well, I mean, Bunny was massing. Like, I think he was definitely getting ready for a move out regardless.
Sure.
But, yeah, when you punish on those Stalkers, it's, like, free.
Well, one feature of that strategy normally from Protoss is that there's a wider area that the Protoss can try to blink in and come in and out of. That wasn't actually far from the ramp at all. So they got chased out and then were met with the rest of the army and were killed. And I mean, things happen extremely quickly, but from there, you can't have a third Nexus and have lost half your Stalkers. It's just not going to work.
Okay, so it is right now for Bunny one base. He's going up into his factory. Don't know where he's going from there. Stat's going to make a proxy something, probably a Stargate, which, you know, might not pair that well against whatever we have Bunny doing here. We're going to see in a moment. Like, Bunny doesn't have an SCV out on the map, so I think he's going to go Command Center after this factory, but
yeah.
I mean, he might go Starport.
Is this Reaper going to find this? This was actually a great bait with the probe here. Draw this away for as long as possible.
And he is going Starport. Now, when Bunny finds this, if he finds this,
he might not.
Add-on complete.
Yeah, it looks like the bait actually worked out pretty nicely. It's funny because all positions are valuable, but you are trying to make oftentimes a sort of sweeping motion. And so the fact that he drew him away, Bunny decided to continue the sweep in an area where we tend to see proxies more often, but Stats hit this one extremely well.
Rotasis. Armory coming. So Cloaked Widowmine drop.
Wow.
against Proxy Stargate Oracle. If the Oracle explodes, okay,
Okay,
he sees
big
the Oracle.
deal
That
here.
is a big deal. If the Oracle explodes, like, Bunny might just win, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you screw up with the Oracle, because you need that for the detection. That's going to be your only detection. It's not like you can make a Robo or cannons against this.
This is
early
what
on.
Bunny does, though, is like, Stats is like, well, I'm going to defend this and then build up in this way while expanding and also attacking and putting pressure on here while denying these options. And Bunny's play has been like, I'm kind of going to just, and he cocks his head and goes, win. Just going to get this game. Fortunately, the Oracle stayed alive so far.
He did see the medevac leaving.
That's right.
And he is making a Phoenix. Okay, so I think he has a good idea of what it is, but he hasn't seen the armory, which is important.
Teleport successful.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, now if he turns it on to shoot, he's going to be in trouble. If he leaves it to detect.
All right, so he tags here.
Oh,
nice.
The tag actually, he only tagged like one of them. Oh my god.
Yeah, is the one inside the medevac tag, though?
I don't know.
The
Maybe he
medevac
tagged
is
two,
actually
maybe, yeah.
tagged. Okay,
Oops.
and that one had already fired, so he still has some time to try to reload it.
I want to see the energy on the Oracle. Please.
Meanwhile, Terran's going to take out this pylon. This is actually all huge, man. Protoss can't mine right now. SCVs are pulled.
And
a Thor!
Oh my god, a Thor. Why not? You are, yeah.
I haven't seen a Thor held in a medevac in fetal position like this in a long time.
Dude, this is great. With the SCVs and the Marines and the Thor, like, he can repair that Thor. The Thor can beat everything he's got with those SCVs
Whoa.
repairing. Honestly.
Yeah, the SCV's coming up here. What is this, the year
Oh my
2010
God.
right now? We've got the Thor rush coming here.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Hey,
I
he's
think-
fighting everything.
Yeah, the batteries are only going to do so much.
He targets down the overcharged battery, and it looks like that's going to be it. Look at Stats' face. He
Oh,
throws his head back.
What a plot
GG.
twist. What a plot twist.
Oh my god, and Bunny going to Code S. Stats eliminated? What universe are we in? Stats is not in Code S for the first time since, I don't know when. I don't even know.
Taking out the giant. Stats, the king of macro, of defense, has been defeated. I mean, I can't even believe it. Great strategies by Bunny. I'll tell you what, great planning. And a lot of this, I think, comes back to game 4. Stats screwed up his control a little bit, and Bunny went right for the jugular.
Dude, that's so rough. I mean, he's planning on going to military soon, too.
Yeah,
Probably looking to win another GSL, which is not unreasonable.
no.
But here he is out of the first one.
Oh, after great series, Bunny of Team MB defeats Stats, and he moves on to the round of 16. Congratulations.
지금 인터뷰석 오셔서 지금 계속 너무 좋아요.
Oh, you just came to the interview and you look so
얼마나
happy.
기쁘신 건가요?
Bunny, how do you feel right now?
대엽이 형이 워낙 잘하니까.
I mean, Stats is a really good player, as everyone knows.
3패 때 지고서 아 이거 운영으로.
And after losing my third set, I knew that with macro, I wouldn't be able to beat him.
많이 내려놨는데.
So I tried to let my expectations down, and I knew that it would be a hard series to win.
잘 해와가지고 이겨서.
But you know, in the end, I'm so
올초
happy to
슈퍼
win.
토너먼트 시즌 1과 또 GSL 예선 또 오늘 경기까지 다 김대엽 선수만 잡으신 건데.
And it's
그럼에도
Super
아직
Tournament
김대엽
Season
선수라는
1
선수가
and
좀
in
어렵게
GSL Season 1, you beat
붙어주셨나요?
Stats.
사실
So how do you
제가
feel
오늘
after that?
이겼다고 해가지고 제가 대엽이 형보다 더
Well, just by
잘하고
beating
그런 게
Stats today
아니니까
doesn't
그래도
mean that I'm better than him
잘하고
in any way.
워낙 잘하는 선수니까.
Well, and he's a phenomenal player,
항상
for sure.
제가 이기든 지든 준비하는 것도 힘들고.
And whether I win or
준비하는
not,
것도
you know,
힘든
it's
것
always hard to prepare
겸손하게
against him.
말씀하셨지만 정말
How humble of you, Bunny, but it was a
오늘 정말
hard-fought
화끈한
victory.
초반 찌르기 공격들이 많았는데
And there were a lot of
마지막
rushes
세트도
in that
지뢰 드랍에
series.
또 치즈 러시 콤보까지. 와,
And in the
또
last
지금
set, you went for the Widowmine
오늘 좀
drops and you
어떤
went for the
배경으로
Soul Rush
이런
as well.
타이밍 공격을 준비하셨나요?
So, what background is there behind these
그
rushes?
준비를 하면서 이번 경기 준비를 하면서
Well, while preparing for
너무 좀
tonight's match,
소진이 힘들어가지고
it was really hard.
혼자서 맥주를 좀 마셨는데
So, you know, I drank some beer.
근데 술 마시니까
to relax.
빌드가 떠오르더라고요.
And after
그래요.
having some alcohol in my body, I started to come up with these innovative builds.
키고 연습을 해보니까 다 괜찮은 것
And then
같아가지고
after using these builds in practice, I realized that they are
또
pretty
숨은
good.
공신이
So that's why I use them.
있었네요. 다만 오늘 지뢰 드랍 많이 또 활용을 하셨는데
Well, you did use the Widow Mine drops quite frequently
또
today.
마지막처럼 또 잘 된 판도 있습니다. 마찬가지로
And there were
김대엽 선수
times when
저격
it didn't work
이었고요.
and it did work. So
사실 모든
why did you use
다
that?
자신이 있었는데 아무래도 상대가 상대인.
Well, every game I had the confidence to win, but due to my opponent being so strong, it didn't work
제
as,
생각에는
as
오늘은
expected.
좀 준비를 정말 잘 해와가지고 자신이 있어서.
But you know, at the end of the day, I prepared really hard, so I knew that as long as I stick to my strategies, I could win.
GSL 16강 진출 김대엽 선수라는
Well, after
큰
2
산을
seasons, you
넘어섰기에
now move on to the
기대했습니다.
GSL Coda
자,
Seasons
그런데
round
제가
16.
2020년 기록을 보니까
So looking at your 2020 records,
원희삭 선수 때문에 떨어진 거예요.
and last year you actually got bogged down by parting a lot, and parting's been on a roll these days. So what do you think about parting?
이삭이 형은 너무 제가 잘한다고 생각하고.
You know, I think parting is a really good player.
더 인정을 하거든요.
He's really strong.
이삭이 형이라는 사람 그 실력에 대해서.
I admit his skills.
예전에는 막 그 형이 도발하면은.
In the past, when he used to make like provocative comments, I would get angry.
또 바로 조직 형식이니까.
But after this comes the group nomination, so I'm gonna try to suppress my happy feelings
겸손하게
and try to
최대한 잘
have a humble attitude in my group
이재선
nomination.
선수 행복한 도지명식 하셨으면
Well, you're gonna have a
좋겠는데요.
happy group nomination for
마지막
sure,
한마디까지
Bunny.
들어보겠습니다.
So before you go, anything you want to say?
부모님 감사하고
Well, I'm always grateful to my parents,
성주 그리고 유진이 형,
and thanks to Maru,
기훈이랑
SOS, Hurricane,
또 성호 형이랑
Trap,
아무튼
and everyone else for helping me with the practice,
한소리 감사합니다.
and also Zaun
알겠습니다.
too.
다시 한번 16강
Once
진출
again, congratulations,
축하드립니다.
Bunny.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
네, 이렇게 이번
Awesome.
경기
What
승자
a-
팀 MB
what a
이재선
plot
선수
twist.
만나봤는데요.
You know,
계속해서 GSL
Not all of these best of fives are made equally, and a lot of them we kind of expect one player to move on, especially early on. And this was one of those matches, totally crazy that that Bunny actually wins here.
Yeah, a couple real brilliant builds. I mean, game 4 was kind of like a that was a mess up from stats, but games
Yeah, but
1
that's how you lose. I mean,
Yeah.
if you mess up in a situation like that, the Stalkers are delicate, so is the Warp Prism. And I know I'm not gonna let you say what you want to say because we're out of time. We'll be right back, guys, with our next best of 5. Don't go away.